If you're trying to increase your impact as a leader, but your message still isn't landing, you're probably making this huge mistake. It's the same one I see in boardrooms, keynotes, and team meetings every single week. Here it is. You're focusing on what to say instead of how you're being and even who you're being when you say it. In the last 5 years, we've seen a massive shift in what makes communication effective. And it's not just about clarity or content anymore. It's about presence, energy, and regulation. And when I say regulation, I'm talking about regulation of your nervous system, because that's what creates your nerves. And here's what most leaders are doing. They write everything out, they rehearse it to death, they try to sound smart and polished and professional, or they just wing it and they think they're doing okay. But in the process, they're disconnecting from themselves and clearly from their audiences. And the result is they may sound good, but they don't move anyone. And that's a problem because in a world full of noise, being clear isn't enough. You need to be compelling. You need to be trusted and respected. And you need to be transmitting, not just talking. You know, there's a quote which says, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. Some of you might be speaking in a boardroom, you might be doing team meetings, and you might think, look, my job is not, Anthony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey. I don't need to be inspiring people. And that's true. You certainly don't need to be changing their lives every second of the day. But what ideally you do need to be doing is moving them in a way that comes with you and the goals or the visions of your company or organization, and in a way that feels good to them and yourself. Why traditional speaking approaches are having less and less impact than ever before is this. No one's really interested in your skills or your techniques, how you're projecting your voice, what you're doing with your hands, how good a story you tell. Those things are wonderful, potentially, but it's just the wrong way to approach speaking in today's world. Social media and online platforms like LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Zoom, Teams, all the other stuff have really meant that people can listen to a plethora of content anytime and have it distilled into tiny little info bites. And it's not death by PowerPoint anymore. It's death by constant information overload, lack of originality, and lack of true connection and respect and trust. If you think about someone like Brene Brown's TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability, it's one of the most watched TED Talks of all time. And her content was not sexy at that time. In fact, no one wanted to talk about vulnerability. That was seen as weakness. And her delivery wasn't slick, it wasn't polished. But what did she do? She raised an issue which most people weren't talking about, but which they felt on the inside. She spoke naturally with raw honesty, humor, but she also shared her intelligence because that's who she is. And people related to her. They valued what she shared. I don't know if you've heard of Sir Ken Robinson. He held the title of the #1 most watched TED Talk for an entire decade. And he's still in the top 3 of all time, and he's had over 75 million views. His message was strong, but that's not what did it. He's passed now, but he had this very natural, dry British wit. He had a very calm presence, his personal anecdotes. He challenged the status quo with compassion and intelligence. He had a humility, and all of that combined to give people a completely different perspective than what they may have had, and it moved millions of people. Let's talk about Taylor Swift, a whole other generation, the most awarded artist in the history of the American Music Awards, Billboard Music Awards, MTV Video Music Awards, iHeartRadio Music Awards. She holds the record for the most Album of the Year wins at the Grammys, the most Video of the Year wins at the MTV VMAs. No artist has been named Global Recording Artist of the Year by the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry more times than she has. But here's what's really interesting. Yes, she's an amazing songwriter. Yes, she's sold all these incredible albums, won these awards. But here's something you may not know. She was the first woman to receive the Global Icon Award at the British Awards. She made history in 2023 as the first entertainer ever that was named Times Person of the Year. In 2020, her Netflix documentary was named one of the 5 best documentaries of the year, and on release, it became the highest rated Netflix original biographical documentary by an artist in MDB history. Here's why I'm sharing this with you. She has activated an entire generation of young people, especially young women, from not just her music, but her tour speeches, her award acceptances, her long form interviews. And that's because they reveal something deeper: her emotional intelligence, her vulnerability, her passion. She doesn't just perform when she talks. She doesn't just talk, she's actually connecting. She's sharing her inner world, her evolution, her heartbreaks, her values with unflinching courage and unflinching honesty. And this is setting a new yardstick for what people are craving when they're listening to someone speak. What key things can you think about when you're speaking or when you're planning to speak? How can you gain more engagement, more buy-in, and more respect without being driven by this relentless idea of perfection and over practicing? It's really about how can you serve your audience? What impact do you want to make? How can you serve them? It's not about you, ultimately. Your people that are listening to you aren't thinking really so much about you as what can they gain from listening to you. The proverbial WIIFM, what's in it for me? That's the place that people are listening from. And I want to share with you a massive shift that can immediately make you more engaging to the people listening to you. This may sound obvious, it may not, but focus more on who you are as a human being. And that includes, what's the most important thing to you? What are your values? What do you stand for? How comfortable do you feel when you're talking to a friend or a colleague? And can you channel that in front of any number of people? I know that can be a challenge, but if you can start thinking in those ways, it won't really matter what your topic is, how dry you think it is. You will find you begin to connect more with your audience. You'll build the sorts of relationships that create the sort of engagement and buy-in that enhances your leadership, your impact, and your life. So, if this video resonates with you, if there's even one thing you've heard that sparked your mind off in a certain direction, then please give it a like or subscribe, leave me a comment below. And I'd love to know, what is it that holds you back from being comfortable when you're speaking? I'd love to incorporate your comments and questions into my next video. And to notify you the next one is coming out, please make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.